In this video, I'm going to talk about individual difference in terms of language learning process. Everyone is different, I'm different, you're different, and everyone is different, and everyone has different their own language learning method and speed as well. In this video, I'm going to talk about individual difference in terms of language learning speed and methods. I believe that there are lots of elements which kind of makes a difference individually in terms of language learning process and speed. But approximately, I believe that there are 5 differences which makes us different in terms of, again, language learning process. The first one is the environment where we are, a circumstance. For example, I am living in Georgia, right? And let's say I'm still learning Georgian, but since I'm living in Georgia, the input that I have in Georgian is much input and output. The amount of input and output is much more than those who are learning Georgian, but not in Georgia. Well, this is very obvious, right? Because I'm in Georgia, I have to talk to people in Georgian. I have to listen. I have to kind of express my feelings and thoughts in Georgian. Input and output is much more than those who are learning, for example, learning Georgian in the United States or in Europe or any other countries in Japan, just through books, So this kind of makes quite a huge difference, I would say, in terms of language learning acquisition speed. The second element, which is very important, is our mother tongue. For example, I'm Japanese. My first language is Japanese, and obviously when I speak English, I have a Japanese accent, and Japanese in Georgian, Japanese in English are very different compared to, for example, French and Spanish, or French and Italian, or French and Portuguese or something, coming from the same language family. So this kind of, our first language does a lot of influence on our second language acquisition process. Let's say you're English native speaker and I'm a native Japanese speaker, and let's say we are learning Chinese Mandarin at the same time. But since I'm Japanese and writing system are quite similar, not like very completely, but similar. But Japanese did adapt from writing system from Chinese. So when I read Chinese characters, I can kind of guess what it means. This is a huge advantage than you being native English speakers using alphabets, 28 letters, and kind of challenging the new writing systems. So the second biggest individual difference can be, I believe, our own first language. The third one is actually the level of motivation. For example, I love learning foreign languages, and I'm learning, for example, at this moment, Chinese, Mandarin, and Arabic. I'm still keep learning in Georgian, but I learn foreign languages from my personal curiosity and interest towards each language. But unfortunately, I don't know if this is like fortunately or fortunately, but it's just a fact. There are lots of people who don't really like learning foreign languages, but they are forced to learn foreign languages. For example, English, right? They have to let's say they have to work with other people from other countries for the communication. They have to learn English and be able to speak English, for their communication at the workplace. Knowing English is one of the, I would say, can be a criteria for their promotion or career and stuff. Or they have to know a good level of English. They have to possess a good level of English in order to study abroad in other countries in English, right? This kind of inner motivation and exterior motivation and its degree, its level, also the higher motivation we have, the more successful our language learning journey can be. If it's like lower, it's more likely the learning languages can be very boring and also stressful. So everyone has different degree and level of motivation and reasons and goals. So this is one of the this is the third element of individual differences in terms of foreign language acquisition process. The fourth one is actually our own learning style. For example, I prefer reading and writing. I prefer when I learn something, not necessarily foreign languages, but I usually read a lot visually, and I believe that by visually I get the information, I absorb the new information and knowledge for my brain. But there are some people, not some, I don't know the proportion, but there are people who love to listen and directly they kind of somehow, I don't know how they do it, but they just listen and they remember things. I have to write, I just envy them, but there are some people like that. By just I'm more like visual learner, and they're like there are some people who are like oral learner, and there are some people who put so much focus on their own experience, and from their experience they learn lots of things which cannot be oral, which cannot be like visual, but they feel it. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, there are some people who kind of learn from their own experiences, using the I don't know, the space or atmosphere, or I don't know, but this is also an individual difference. Language method, learning method, learning style, learning approach can be different among us, even you and me. So this is the first important element which can create an individual difference. And the fifth one is they are, biologically speaking, I'm not sure if this word biologically is correct or not, but there's some disorders like dyslexia, having difficulties in reading and writing. Some people, for some people it's kind of hard to listen and hear and get information orally. This is also can be difference between individuals. But I want to say that these are like five biggest individual differences. But what I want to say is that there is no the best, the most efficient, the most effective language learning method or approach in the world which can be applicable for everyone, because we are different. What I want to say that since we are different, there's no best methodology, but what I can say that it's the what we can do is to find the best learning approach and method for ourselves, and using the being consistent with that, the best method for ourselves, and keep doing that daily with the consistency, and studying the foreign language or target languages in a fun mood, finding our own best approach, and keep being consistent with it, and also study with like passion, with like motivation, or like in a fun way. I think this is what I can say. Since we are different, I'm different, you are different, we have like different kinds of thoughts, we have different persons as well, but there's no best method, but what we can do is finding our own best methodology, method and approach, and we can kind of keep learning the languages. That's what I can say. Yeah. It's actually 11 p.m. and I feel kind of sleepy now. By the way, thank you so much for watching and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. 終わった。4本。お疲れ様です。